Like all other fears, public speaking fear also has connection with the brain. You would be surprised to know a human brain starts functioning just within 3 to 5 weeks of the conception of a baby. Even a newborn baby's mind is so developed that he is able to differentiate between the faces. He is able to make out that he is a stranger and he is no more stranger for me. A newborn baby is also able to pick up the scent of his parents. He is even very easily able to make out that he is in the lap of his mother or somebody else. And he is also intelligent enough to ensure that he makes his demand loud and clear to all. Ever since our birth, we continue to develop a lot of memories. We also continue to sharpen our language skills. At the same time, as we grow up, we also develop a lot of skills to solve very critical problems. Don't you think human brain is such a wonderful thing? It keeps working day in, day out, 24/7, 365 days. It really never stops. And suddenly in the public, somebody announces your name and hey comes Mr. Sandeep Kumar and is going to say a few beautiful words. And this is the time you really struggle with your memory. And there are certain words which you very frequently use in your daily language. You really find it very difficult to recall those words. And you also find something stuck in your tongue. Your tongue seems to have paralyzed. And this is your brain, which has been working since your birth without stopping, really seems to have stopped working. So this is the time you need to check out, are you under the grip of public speaking fear or the glossophobia? Now I'm going to do a diagnosis of yours to check out, have you ever also been under the grip of public speaking fear? Just imagine a situation, your name was announced to say a few words in the public, and when you were about to say something and there were certain butterflies running here and there in your stomach, and you were also kind of sweating, and your heart actually started beating faster than the normal, and you also find that there's something stuck in your throat has completely gone dry, and you wanted to say something, you kind of stammer, which you really never did before. And you might have also noticed your hands are trembling. Not only your hands are trembling, but also your hands have gone completely cold. Sometimes you find that there is a lot of sweat in your hands. There could have been the various situation when you wanted to complete your message, but you were so uncomfortable in that situation, you just want to complete your words, you want to run from the situation. So my dear friends, you should also watch out. If you also have experienced any or the many of these symptoms, you also surely have been under the grip of the public speaking fear. So now, to understand the public speaking fear, we have to answer two very basic questions. Why we are so hardwired to experience this kind of fears all the time and most of the time. We also have to understand if there are any secrets to manage these kind of fears. So in order to understand why we have fear in our brain, we have to get into our brain and understand its structure and its response to the fear we have. Now we understand brain's basic structures and its response to fear. The brain is one of the most complex structures we know, but its objectives are quite simple, just to keep us alive and reach our goals. Brain is the control center of the whole body, driving every thought, feeling and every action. There are three main regions of the brain. Each part plays very specific role when we interact with the environment and process any kind of information. Lowest one, the survival region. At the center we have the feeling region. At the front and the top we have the thinking region. Survival region takes care of our all basic life functions that happen just automatically, like our heart rate or the breathing. More importantly, it also scans the environment for any potential threat or the danger and kicks us into very prompt action when required. Feeling region is the home for our most basic emotions such as anger, fear or pleasure. Now we understand how do survival and the feeling region interact in case of any threat. Feeling region automatically gets activated when survival region perceives any threat in the environment. It really sends so many signals to the other part of the body and the brain. This is the time when we actually experience the feeling of fear. At this stage, this feeling region also triggers our fight or flight response so that we can take appropriate action. This explanation is not only true for the ancient caveman who was always on the alert to save his life, but this is also true in case of the businessman. He is going to make his very first business presentation. But the only difference today is ancient times saber-tooth tiger has been replaced by the modern times public speaking fear. Now you must be wondering, what is the role of this thinking brain? This is actually the most sophisticated and highly developed region of the brain. This is actually the part of the brain where all the logics reside. This part is also responsible for all the decision making. For example, making choice between fight or flight response in case of any threat. Here we also make the planning for the personal and the professional life. It also helps us to critically analyze the situation and find very creative and the unique solution of the problems. survival, feeling and the thinking region, they work together to ensure that we stay alive and achieve our goals. Now we know our survival and the feeling region of our brain are responsible for giving us a feeling of fear. Next question, which is yet to be answered, that how can we manage public speaking fear? This answer can easily be given by my very normal good friend. So these are very important keyword, normal good friend, when it comes to managing public speaking fear. First of all, before I go on explaining the meaning of normal, I would like to congratulate everybody who has at any point of time in their life has experienced any of the symptoms of the public speaking fear. In fact, this is not any psychological disorder which you should be hiding from people. But the good news is that your feeling region is absolutely working fine. So what do you think? The people who are scared of the public speaking just experience public speaking fear? Believe you me, whatever choice you make, whether to face it means fight or flight, just avoid the public speaking, all kind of people going to have the same kind of symptoms and experience. Your heart is going to beat little faster just to pump more blood to your arms and to your legs. And also the sudden rush of adrenaline will ensure that all your five senses are a little more hyperactive so that you can gain a little more information about the environment to take the right and appropriate action. The next time when you experience this kind of public speaking fear or the symptoms, you should not just be thinking that you are the person who is alone on this planet who experiences this fear. But actually these symptoms indicate that your body is getting ready to fight back and give a very nice presentation. Before I explain the word good, please tell me, would you ever want to be the person who is absolutely free from all kind of fears? Like oxygen, fear is also an essential part of our life. It is not only essential for our survival, but also for our productivity and the performance. Just imagine a scenario, if I am able to turn off your feeling brain, it means that you're no longer able to experience the feeling of fear. No alert system is there in your body. Just think, how long will you be able to survive? Similarly, you also have no fear of the future uncertainties. Would you really bother to work a little more hard at your workplace? Fear and stress go hand in hand. Is there any relation between the stress and the kind of performance? Certain optimum amount of the stress which is caused by the fear or any other reason is important for our performance. Two psychologists, Yorkes and Dodson, together gave this kind of relationship. At one end, there is no stress at all. In such a case, person tends to make no effort to do anything. And kind of drive to give the performance is absolutely missing here. In such a case, there is absolutely no performance. As soon as the stress level increases, the performance begins to happen. So far we know when we have moderate level of stress, which is manageable also, individual's performance is going to hit the peak and he is going to give the best performance. If the stress level increases beyond this peak point onwards, this is where his performance starts falling. If it is actually too much to handle, this is where the person experiences total meltdown. What do you mean to say total meltdown? At this stage, your feeling brain totally hijacks your thinking brain. It means your thinking brain is no longer capable of making rational decisions and differentiating between the real and imaginary threats, and results in absolutely no performance. Stress has a relation with the individual's performance. Initially, when there is no stress, performance is also not there. When the stress increases, performance also increases with the stress. And at the moderate level of stress, it hits the peak of the performance. But if the stress goes beyond that point, the performance starts declining. Now you must be wondering, is there any way that we can keep our stress at certain manageable level so that we can give the right kind of performance? On one hand, feeling brain is so powerful that it can hijack our all rational brain. But on the other hand, thinking brain, which is also known as the CEO of entire brain, it has power to override irrational responses of feeling and survival brain. As you know that the public speaking is not kind of life-threatening adventure. It doesn't have a much potential to do any kind of physical harm. Still our feeling brain gets aroused, preventing our logical brain from differentiating between our real threat and the imaginary threat. Here your thinking brain needs to intervene. It needs to tell your feeling brain again and again, this is just an imaginary threat. It cannot do a big harm to you. The moment feeling brain gets convinced that what logical brain is saying is right, undesired response of the feeling brain will begin to subside and you will come back to the normal. Now you know that certain amount of the fear is good for your performance. Can we make public speaking fear our friend? It means going close to a thing which scares you again and again. By Olivier Michel, there was a wonderful experiment. In this experiment, there was a group of the people who were given a computer to work on. On their computer, whenever any blue dot appeared, they kind of got electric shock. There were the sensors in their body which actually measure their sweatiness. Psychologically, these people have learned the fear by this experience. After this group was divided into the 3 groups. Next day, they were again exposed to the blue square as a reminder of the fear. Just 10 minutes after this reminder, the very first group, they were again on the computer and blue square appeared again on their screen. But this time, they were not given any electrical shock. Another group which was separately working, after 6 hours, they were also working on a computer, again the blue dot appeared on their screen. And they were also not given any kind of electrical shock. And third group, which was the luckiest one, they were never shown the blue square again and they never got any shock in their life. Very next day of this experiment, these all 3 groups were again exposed to the blue square again. The results were very surprising. This very first group, which was exposed just 10 minutes after the reminder, they really show almost no sign of any kind of fear. Again, and surprisingly, after 1 year, these all 3 groups were shown this blue square again, and results were pretty much consistent. The group number 1 again showed almost no sign of the fear, while other 2 groups which were exposed after 6 hours and never, they kind of showed sweatiness in their body when they were measured using the sensors. Now, learning here, make public speaking fear your friend. Which means that if you're scared of the public speaking, you should do it again and again. You should not just be waiting for any good day when somebody gives you a formal command to deliver a presentation. Rather, you should create certain opportunities. You can surely join any club where you can make this stand-up presentation. Also in the functions of your family or of your friends, you can always take a lead and grab the mic and start speaking. Your focus is to meet the public speaking fear again and again. Make public speaking fear your friend. That fear reminds me, now we have to meet those 3 gentlemen again who initially had a lot of fear in their life when they began to experiment with the public speaking. He's Warren Buffett, who is the world's greatest investor. And if I invite this person for delivering lecture on how to invest and multiply your money and become richer, similarly, what would be his anxiety level if he has to deliver his talks on innovation and computers? Similarly, the ex-Prime Minister of the Britain, next day he has to deliver a lecture on politics and power. I do a little kind of shuffling here. I change the subject. Mr. Buffett comes to know that he has to talk on power and politics. Mr. Jobs has to talk on how should you invest your money and become richer. And similarly, Sir Winston Churchill has to talk on something on the computer science. What do you now think would happen to their stress level? Will it be same as in case of delivering their talk on the subject which they know well? In case of the change of the subject, their stress level will be affected. Maybe in such a case, they are a little more stressed than the previous case. Person tends to feel less fear when he knows and when he is talking on a subject which he knows and understands well. So there could be a case you already know your subject, so this is wonderful good news for you, but there could be a case when you really don't know your subject. So there is a one secret here: become friend with your subject. Get into your subject, get subject into your heart, then you will surely find this is working wonders. Just imagine a scenario. Tomorrow you have to deliver a presentation. I give you option to choose your audience. On the one hand, we have one group which is absolute stranger. You have never met these people before. On the other hand, you have another group which is actually the group of the people who you already know, you have met occasionally. Who would you prefer to be your audience? Surely not the one who you really are less familiar with. There is a term called stranger anxiety, which means we tend to experience more fear while interacting with the people who we have never met, who are absolutely stranger for us. We may not always have this liberty to make choice between the people who we don't know and the people we know. There could be the case where you have to deliver your presentation to a absolute stranger. In such a case, we have to try to create an opportunity to interact with likely audience, maybe through email, maybe over the phone. Now you understand what do I mean by friend. You have to make public speaking fear your friend, meet it again and again. Also get a subject you're going to talk about your friend, and also the people you're going to deliver your presentation to. Making friend with these factors will surely help you reduce your public speaking fear. Now let me summarize the idea of normal good friend again. Now we know that the human brain is hardwired to experience the fear. It's absolutely normal and natural. There's nothing wrong with it. Fear and anxiety are important for our survival and performance. If fear and anxiety goes beyond the manageable level, they should make use of your thinking brain. Now idea of the friend says, be friend with the fear, subject and the audience. Facing the public speaking fear as soon as possible and as much as possible is the key. Get subject into the heart. You will surely find you are feeling less fear. And also not just wait, but create opportunity to interact with your likely audience. This is how we come to the end of fundamentals behind the public speaking fear and also the secrets to manage it. Thank you.